For as long as we've been human, we've told stories to keep the people we love with us. We've built monuments, we've looked at old photographs. But today, technology, well, it's rewriting the very meaning of memory and loss. It's offering us a chance not just to remember, but to actually interact. So let's explore this very personal and really profound new world together. Wow. That one sentence just perfectly captures what we're talking about today, doesn't it? We are living in a time when the lines we've always just taken for granted are starting to get blurry, all thanks to artificial intelligence. So, what's really driving this incredible shift? At its heart, it's not just about the tech. It's about something we all feel. One of the most universal human longings there is, the wish to reconnect with those we've lost. Just think about that for a second. What if you could ask them for advice, or share a funny memory, or just hear them say your name again? And here's the thing, this isn't just a hypothetical question anymore. It's a question that technology is now genuinely trying to answer. This is the big promise of what people are calling griefbots, or sometimes dead bots. Now, these aren't ghosts in the way you might think. They're incredibly sophisticated AI simulations, designed to offer a kind of continued connection, a digital echo in the silence. So how on earth do you create a digital ghost? Well, it's not magic. It's data. Just massive amounts of data that, believe it or not, we all create every single day. Okay, this is a really important thing to get straight. A griefbot isn't a resurrection. It's an emulation. It's an algorithmic echo that's been trained to simulate the person you knew, and it does that based on the digital trail they left behind. And this is the raw material for it all. Every single text message, every comment on social media, every email, every voice note, it all becomes part of this huge data set. The AI just sifts through it all, learning patterns, vocabulary, even the unique rhythm of how that person talked. And it uses all of that to build a conversational model in their likeness. And this brings us to a really, really important distinction in how these digital personas get made. First, you've got retrospective creation. That's when, say, a family member uses a loved one's existing data to build a bot after they've passed away, often with them ever having agreed to it. But then there's prospective creation, which is completely different. That's when someone, while they're still alive, actively helps create their own digital twin, carefully planning how they want to be remembered. This difference? It's absolutely key to the ethical storm that's brewing. But you see, this tech doesn't just exist in a lab somewhere. It plugs right into one of our deepest, most vulnerable emotional processes, grief. And the impact it can have, well, it's incredibly complex.
For a lot of people, the appeal is completely understandable, and it's deeply human. It's the chance to say that final goodbye you never got, to resolve some unfinished business, or, just to feel the comfort of a familiar presence, even if you know it's a simulation.
But, and this is the big but, here's the central conflict. Does all that comfort come at a price? Psychologists, ethicists, and spiritual leaders are all starting to ask, could these simulations actually be stopping us from doing the really hard but necessary work of mourning, of accepting that finality of loss and learning how to move forward? The potential for harm here is pretty significant. Creating an emotional dependency on an algorithm could trap someone in a state of unresolved grief. It blurs that line between a cherished memory and an ongoing relationship that isn't actually real. And that raises some profound questions. For so many spiritual traditions, accepting loss is a sacred, transformative process. This technology could fundamentally get in the way of that. And this quote from an Islamic counseling framework gives us a really powerful, specific example. It argues that this so-called illusion of continuity actively works against the spiritual need to accept what's happened. Instead of helping someone rely on their faith and community for healing, it risks creating a reliance on a piece of technology, tethering the grieving person to an illusion. So this brings us to the next incredibly tricky chapter in this whole story. Our technology has raced way, way ahead of our rules. We're now facing a whole bunch of ethical and legal questions that, frankly, our society has never had to answer before. It's the simplest question, right? But it's also the most profound. Who gets to decide if a digital version of you is created after you're gone? Is it you? Your family? The tech company that holds all your data? Right now, the answers are dangerously unclear. And the thing is, all these problems are tangled up together. The issue of consent is massive because in most places, your right to privacy doesn't follow you into the afterlife. Then there's authenticity. An AI can be made to say anything, potentially twisting a person's legacy. And what about security? This data is a goldmine for hackers. And above all, there's a fundamental question of dignity. Do we have a right to not be digitally reanimated without our permission?
The good news is that lawmakers are starting to wake up to these challenges. We're seeing this new wave of legislation aimed at protecting our digital likenesses after death. And this is about way more than just celebrity impersonations. It's about giving everyone control over their own digital legacy. From Tennessee's ELVIS Act, which protects a person's voice, to proposed federal laws like the No Fakes Act, governments are scrambling to build a legal framework for this new reality. But for now, it's still a real patchwork with a lot of gaps. So where does all of this leave us? Well, this isn't just a story about technology anymore. It's a story about us and about the choices we make right now that are going to define how we are all remembered. For generations, the legacy we left behind was largely out of our control. But we are at a major turning point. We can now move from being passive creators of data to being active architects of our own digital legacy. We can decide for ourselves what happens to our digital echo. And the cool thing is, we're already seeing the path forward. New tools are popping up to give us that control. Things like digital wills that can legally spell out our wishes. Clear consent protocols to make sure we opt in rather than having our identity used without permission. Mandates for labeling so no one is ever tricked by a simulation. And even things called sunset clauses, which can ensure that our digital echo doesn't last forever, allowing for an eventual, peaceful digital silence. Ultimately, this technology forces every single one of us to ask a question that is both deeply personal and universally human. In an age where memory can be simulated, where voices can echo long after we're gone, what does it truly mean to leave a legacy? Is it about preserving a perfect interactive copy of ourselves? Or is it about the memories that live on imperfectly but authentically in the hearts and minds of those who loved us? The choice is increasingly becoming ours to make. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into a truly fascinating and important topic. If you found this explainer helpful, inspiring, entertaining, and informative, please do share it with someone you think would find it interesting. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more explainers on the technologies that are shaping our world. Watch for the next upload. Thank you.